She's a silver lining, Lone Ranger riding through an open space. In my mind when she's not right there beside me, I go crazy, 'cause here isn't where I wanna be. And satisfaction feels like a distant memory, and I can't help myself, alright. Wanna hear her say, is are you mine? Well, are you mine? Are you mine?
Good afternoon and welcome to our new Charlton TV studio presented by DNEL Limited. Look, it hasn't been the greatest of starts to the season, but nothing is won or lost in August. Still plenty of time to turn things around, and today we host Wigan Athletic here at the Valley. Lots to come up pre-kick-off. We'll speak exclusively to Nigel Adkins and Jayden Stockley. We'll head down memory lane with today's special guest. We'll get Curbs' thoughts on the unveiling of the Alan Curbishley stand, and we'll look back at Tuesday's game against MK Dons. Delighted to say that Curbs is back in town. Look at that tan as well.
Oh, I haven't got it here, have I? Look at it.
You haven't got it here. Bring back the sun, please, Curbs, for goodness sake. We also have in between us one of Charlton's 98 playoff penalty heroes with us.
Has played in big games, he's played in Europe with Norwich City, scored for them in that famous win at Bayern Munich, facing a real pressure situation here, and he scores 100%, the record's maintained, but Sunderland can't afford to miss the next one.
Fantastic bottle from Mark Bowen, fantastic. That is a pressure pot of a penalty, just blasts it in that favoured side.
Pressure, he eats pressure, doesn't Mark? Oh, great to see you.
It's nice to see myself with some hair, Scott. That's what pressure does to you, right?
You showed nerves of steel there, I have to say, but I bet you never got one major headline for that as well.
No, my recollection of that moment, if you like.
We will come on to that a little bit later, so you don't have to go deep into it.
Yeah, okay. But it was just make sure you don't miss, because never mind Charlton, my kids in school on Monday would get hammered for it. So.
It was a fantastic strike. Curbs, welcome back. You're looking well. Yeah, how was it out there? Good of you to turn up today.
Yeah, I went to Spain for a week, straight after the unveiling, really, to get over it. And no, great weather. And I've come back to all this. But listen, it's football weather, isn't it?
Yeah,
this will be nice. This will be nice for the players today.
We saw the trick that grandson Fred played with you
he's
as
got
well.
A few of them.
You went down in stages, didn't you? How long did it take you to get back up?
I couldn't. That's when the video ended.
Look, today would be our first game in the Charlton TV studio with fans in here as well, so we're really looking forward to it. I mean, how much are you looking forward to it, Bo?
Yeah, I think everybody's missed it, haven't they? You know, it seemed to, you know, apart from all the problems with COVID in terms of football, it just seemed to go on forever, and you almost forgot what it was like to have an atmosphere in the ground. But I think everybody, whether it's live in the stadium or even watching it on the television, I think everybody's lapping it up at the moment, and just to get some atmosphere and some real feeling back into the stadiums.
How excited are you, Coach? Makes a big difference.
It does, of course it does. I think near the end of the season, when fans were allowed in certain games, weren't it, the playoff games, it made a big difference, especially to the home side. And I think we really suffered last year in the running. I think the results weren't as good as we wanted, but I think if we would have had fans back here, it would have been a totally different story. So, listen, it's a big game for all sorts of reasons today, and I'm sure the fans will respond and give it their best shot. I
wouldn't have expected you to watch all the games, or both games, when you were out there, but did you keep an eye on it?
Just the results, really. Caught up on a little bit of it when I come back, but no, I'm looking forward to the game. See, when we played Sheffield Wednesday a couple of weeks ago, I thought defensively we were very, very good. I know there was a lot of criticism about going the other way, but the defence looked really strong, and I don't think they've really been opened up in the 3 games.
No, but we've made mistakes, and we'll come on to those in just a second. Look, kick-off here at the Valley, less than 45 minutes away. Let's get cracking, shall we? I spoke to Nigel Adkins a little bit earlier, pitch side. Nigel, thanks very much for joining us pre-match, as ever. Before we get to the starting 11, how pleased are you to get Corey Blackett-Taylor on a short-term deal?
Really pleased. Corey's trained with us for the last 10 days, nearly 2 weeks, and he's done ever so well. Every single day in training, he's turned up. Real nice personality about himself, wants to improve, wants to do well. I know we watched him years and years ago at Aston Villa. He was a massive talent. And obviously, maybe the last couple of years, it's been a challenge for him. But he comes in, he's intelligent, he can score with his right foot, his left foot, his head, little dinks as well. You know, I'm really impressed with him. Obviously, he's got other attributes as well. But from my point of view, really pleased that we've got him on board, and really pleased we've got him on the bench today.
He is on the bench today. 2 changes from the starting 11, both enforced? Yeah,
Sean Clare doesn't make the game through injury, which is a shame, because I think he's had a good start to his period with us. But he just misses out. Hopefully he'll be all right for next week. We'll have to see. And Connor Washington obviously came off. He looked in so much distress, and if you'd seen him in the dressing room afterwards, he couldn't move because of the back injury. We got great medical staff here and sports science staff, and Connor's made the bench today. So hopefully we don't have to use him, but he's there alongside Josh Davidson, if you like, with Corey and Charles Claydon. There's 4 attacking threats for us, if required, coming off the bench.
It was a disappointing result on Tuesday, but the first 15-20 minutes were superb. No one can dominate a game for 90, but how do you try and elongate that to maybe 60-70 minutes?
That's a good thing. It's good habits. I keep talking about restarts. You just play the next 20 seconds in front of that restart. 130 restarts in a game. What do I mean? Goal kick, throw-in, free kick, corner. You know, the goalkeeper's got the ball in the hands. Play that next period of time. That's all you've got to go and do and concentrate on it. And as you rightly say, we yet again had a very good 20-minute spell in the game. Unfortunately for me, through our enthusiasm maybe in the middle of the pitch, we've allowed MK Dons back into the game with a goal, and they could pass it well. Some of the stuff we've done, we did a debrief with the players. I've got like the wide angle screenshot of the game, if you like, and we go through some things. There was really some good stuff we've done, some things we've got to improve on. We all know that, but what we have got is an honest, hard-working young group of guys who want to do well. The fans were great through getting us going. The Sheffield Wednesday game here, the last game at home, it was magnificent, and we need the same again today. And both of us have got to spark each other.
Yeah.
The players have got to spark the fans have got to spark the players. We got a tough game, but if we can, as you just said, sustain longer periods of pressure when we are in the ascendancy and score in them times, and then make sure our concentration and discipline is right, not to give the cheap goals away that I believe we've given away so far, then we'll be far better.
And final one for me as well, some familiar faces in the Wigan squad, of course. What are you expecting from the Wigan side today?
Oh, it's going to be a top game. They've got new ownership like ourselves. They've come in, and obviously from their point of view, they're trying to build as well. And you know, Ben's in goal for them as well today. I wanted to keep Ben, but Ben's in goal. I'm really pleased with Macca, by the way. But you know, they're going to be a good challenge for us today. The way they play, Charlie Wyke up top as well with Will Keane. I had Will as a previous player. He was recovering from a bad knee injury. He's a talented player. You know, so they've got good experience in their side. So it's going to be a challenge, but we've got to make it. It's our game. You know, we did ever so well against Sheffield Wednesday here. The last time we were home in the Valley. We've got to make sure we have that same intensity about ourselves and all spark each other to make it a great afternoon.
We wouldn't have it any other way. Nigel, thank you. Good
luck.
All
the best now. Enjoy your afternoon.
Yeah, always upbeat, Nigel. Clearly he was disappointed on Tuesday, but let's have a look at today's starting 11, shall we? Is it coming up? No, it's not coming up. Oh, 2 changes we'll talk about then. It's Ben Watson, Curbs for Sean Clare, and Charlie Kirk for Connor. Connor's on the bench. He came off, you probably didn't see. It looked like he was in real problems. Yeah. Did his back. Yeah. So it's great to see that he's actually on the bench, and probably will get some kind of minutes on there. And Corey Blackett-Taylor on the bench as well. It's the first changes of the season. In terms of the start of the season, how much do you want consistency for selection, or how much is it sort of mixing and matching, finding what works?
Well, I think there's a little bit of mixing and matching, but it looks as if Nigel's going to settle on having 2 wide men who can get the ball in the box. I think the game here against Sheffield Wednesday, Washington played wide left. He's really a centre forward, isn't he? So he's got 2 out and out. Looks like he's got 2 out and out wide men. And look, you've seen Stockley, the goal he scored in midweek. Need to get the balls in the box, especially when you're in crossing position. So 4-4-2 it looks like, and you know, I think that the 2 wide men will play a big part, especially at home.
Mark, you've done it all, haven't you? Player, manager, sporting director as well. This start of the season, in terms of trying to gel a team, Nigel hasn't really had the options off the bench as well. How much is it almost? I mean, even today, 2 changes, they're pretty much enforced. How much do you need those options?
Well, a bit of contradiction in terms there, because every manager, if you like, who hasn't got it will basically turn around and say, well, we need, you know, I need my players, my, you know, steady team, same starting lineup. And then if it doesn't quite go well, you're the same manager saying, well, actually, I need more options. So it balances out. Listen, it's early on in the season, of course, and I think, you know, looking back to the back end of last season, I think that the team finished consistently well, albeit drew probably far too many games. And now starting off the season, it's very early doors, but you've got to be careful. You don't sort of leave that gap before you can go and sort of push on and challenge in the top Eckley onto the table, let's say. But I think Nigel will be looking. I mean, with Blackett-Taylor coming into the squad again, he's got pace and power in those areas. And like Curb said, I think it looks as if the way he wants to progress is with getting pace down the wings, behind full-backs. But again, repeat because if you're doing that but you're not getting balls into those danger areas for Stockley to attack, then there's got to be some sort of compromise. You're doing it, but you want that early delivery. And sometimes I think, you know, you got wingers, you're playing with wingers, and they're quite precautious, aren't they? You know, they like to run at people, and meanwhile, your big number 9's making run after run and not getting it. So there's got to be that sort of desire to get the ball into those areas, into the central areas early on if you're going to play that way.
Let's have a look at the league table, shall we? It doesn't make great reading if you do look at it, but it still is very early days, you have to say. I mean, look, guys, we've seen it plenty of times before where teams have started slowly, got on to win promotion. We did it, what, in 18-19, one of our first six went on to win the playoffs. Your team, Curbs, 97-98, which included Bo, only won 2 of the first 5. So how important is it not to panic?
Well, no, there's no panic, I don't think. I think that what would be nice, get the result today and be around mid-table, hopefully. And there's still a couple of weeks to go in this window, and it will make us a little bit more attractive to people, especially on loan, if we are a little bit higher up. But I think it will just give everybody a lift, no matter even if we stay where we are, to get our first win, you know, and a decent performance. It has been a poor start, if you like, because the expectation levels have risen in the summer. You know, the talk is we're going to be doing this and we're going to be doing that. Oh, hold on, it's a little bit more difficult than that. You've got to win the games before you can start shouting your mouth off a little bit.
What can it take to kick-start a season? You know, a little bit of luck in a game, win a game, and then suddenly momentum changes?
Yeah, I'm sure Nigel, you know, and it's a cliche, Scott, but today he won't care how he gets to win. You know, everybody wants to play the beautiful game, but today at 5 o'clock he'll just want to be going into his office or into that dressing room and saying to the lads, right, we're off and running now. You know, because it is a concern. We'll all sit here, you know, as Charlton fans and say, well, it's early doors in the season, but you do look at the table and it does. If you're not careful, it creeps up. It starts affecting your players, because players like nothing better than looking at where are we in the table. We've had a good start. If you're not getting that, then you're seeing, you know, there's still Ipswich Town in the same boat as us at the moment. So, but you need that 3 points today to really get everybody thinking, well, okay, that's it. We dust ourselves down. We're off. We're going.
It is another full fixture list in League One this afternoon. A big one in South Yorkshire. The early kick-off, Rotherham against Sheffield Wednesday. Just 2 teams left with 100% records now. They are Pompey and Burton. Burton travel to Cambridge, while Pompey head to Doncaster. But we asked Nelson, Matty Holland the same question on Tuesday. Who do you expect to be up the end of the season? We went for about a dozen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the teams that have come down, you'd like to sort of think that their squads are stronger. Obviously, I think Sheffield Wednesday are going to be thereabouts. Really disappointed in Ipswich at the moment. Really am. I thought they'd be hitting the ground running with Paul Cook, although they didn't really finish off the back end of last season too well. I'd have thought they'd have been up there. Sunderland seemed to be year after year lately sort of pushing and missing out. So those teams will be definitely on it again. Portsmouth obviously had a very good start. You know, they've got a manager who knows the league as well, and he's gone in there and hit the ground running this year. But there's any number of teams within you look into that caption there, any number of teams can be pushing. Yeah. Not surprised that the other guy said the same thing. I'm loath to sort of pick out 1 or 2. I think there's probably about a consensus of about 8 teams really would have a good chance.
How do you see it, Kuz? I mean, great job Jimmy Floyd's doing at Burton.
I was just going to mention that.
Unbelievable what he did last season.
That's what I'm saying. They had a fantastic run in, didn't they? And we remember speaking to him over at the tunnel there, and they've kept that momentum. You know, a couple of signings probably, and they've started ever so well. So they may be the surprise package. You know, no one expects them, but it's a difficult place to go to, just thinking about it. I've got to look at the Portsmouths and, you know, the Ipswich.
I think Wickham will be thereabouts as well.
Yes, I agree. So, Rotherham too.
It's just such a... We say that about all the leagues, really, but I think this one's going to be a real tough one this year.
I think it's the new championship. I think this is a fantastic division and a really difficult one to get out of. Look, we'll talk more about today shortly, but I think it's important we go down memory lane now, don't you, Bo?
Yeah, maybe so.
Let's go for it.
It's nice to see a left back who's 2-footed.
You got your first dig in there. I'll take that. Wasn't just for standing on, but mostly my right foot. Look, let's rewind the clock back to 1997. You're out in Japan, playing your trade for Shimizu S-Pulse. Is that?
Yeah,
I'd
right? Actually left. I'd spent 9 good years at Norwich and left there. They had some financial problems and left there. And I'd signed a 3-year contract with West Ham, and quite a funny story, because it got to, I think it was around about the November, December time, and West Ham were in the bottom 3, and I had a phone call from Ozzy Ardiles, or Steve Perriman actually. Ozzy was the manager in Japan, Steve Perriman was his assistant. He rang me one Sunday morning and sort of said, listen, we want you to come out to Japan. I sort of replied, well, you know, I've just signed a 3-year contract with West Ham. And then over the phone he told me that the money I'd be earning if I went there, which changed the landscape a bit. Like, so I actually went into West Ham on the Monday, because they wanted me to fly out there within 2 or 3 days. And I remember going to see Harry, and he wasn't best pleased. I was going to do an impression of Harry, but it's not a great impression. But you can imagine.
I had a few years under Harry as well.
Yeah.
I know what he's like.
So anyway, I just laid my cards on the table, so to speak, and said, listen, Harry, I've got this opportunity. His first impression was to say, no, you're not going anywhere. But then when I told him, I mean, I'm being honest here, the money that I was going to earn, he looked me in the eye and said, look, I can't stand in your way. And
Fair play to him.
Yeah, I was, you know, wow, I never really thought it would happen. And he went to see the chairman, and yeah, you can go. And within 3 or 4 days, I was out in Japan. I had a year in Japan, or 9 months there, and I was desperate to come home, homesick, and family were back here. And an agent of mine sort of, he said he'd spoke to Curbs. Oh, right, okay. Because obviously I wanted to come to London anyway. And I'm sure Curbs will tell you, I'd had 9 months in Japan, Scott, of living on rice and sushi. And
I walked past him in the street.
He did. He did. I came and parked in the car, but he said, come in the Monday and meet me. Drove in, parked up, and I could see him coming out the main entrance, and I jumped out of my car, walked towards him, almost with my hand out, and he walked straight past me.
He was expecting a pen and paper, like you were some kind of...
I was mucking about, but Bo, you've lost some weight.
I soon put the weight back on, though. But no, listen, it was fantastic times. I mean, my first game actually was, I think we played Norwich away, won 4-0, my first
September 97.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at it.
All right.
Yeah. That was your first game. Did you? I mean, Clive scored a hat-trick there. He was pretty good at those, wasn't he? Yeah. Even as early as then, did you think we had a chance of getting promotion?
I knew as soon as I walked in the door we had good players. I mean, you know, first day in the training ground thinking, wow, you know, we've got some really talented players here. And I think, my opinion is that it just seemed as the season went on, it snowballed and it grew, and we had huge momentum behind us. We knew we had a fantastic striker, but not just that, right behind him, you're looking at Mark Kinsella there, we had leaders on the park, we had quality, and it goes, I mean, I was actually, I had to check myself, I looked at the season in itself, and I think we won something like 11 of the last 14 games, we won and drew 1. And that is a hell of a roll of form we're on, and you know, at that time, we feared nobody. I personally knew we were going into the playoff games, Ipswich Town, home and away, with no fear we were going to get through the ties.
Can I just say, I don't think Curbs would have been as good as Harry. It's nice doing that.
No, I was glad.
Do you have a story of that about trying to, because mobile phones were in, but not so much in?
No.
How did you get hold of Bo?
I think he's right. I think someone phoned me up and said, look, Bo wants to come home. And I was glad he filled his boots in Japan, because we couldn't fill them. so
it's a bit different when I spoke to Curbs.
But it's nice when you get someone who wants to come, and he wanted to come. And he's right. I mean, looking at the players in them clips, I mean, as soon as he went into the training ground, I think we knew we had a chance. And in all fairness, we'd done it through the playoffs, but someone said to me, I may have this wrong, but 16 out of the 17 previous years would have gone straight up. It was just a fluke that the other two teams, I think it was Notts Forest, I can't remember who the other team was, they had such a high total. But, you know, previous years, our total would have gone up with Sunderland. We both would have gone up. So, no, I looked at that clip and looking at the players we had a good side. And I've said it so many times about the old days, if you like, but the group of players, I should say group instead of squad, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Anyway, the squad of players we had, they could have done it on their own. If me and Les Reed didn't turn up, or me and Merv, they could have carried on training. It was a good fix, Scott. I mean, I think it was, and ruling myself out, there's genuinely the recruitment of the club at the time, the players that, like the Curbs and his team, if you like, you know, to pick players out that come in and enhance the team, enhance the squad over that period. I don't think if one player came in where you thought, well, he's not going to fit in with the group, or he's not good enough to take us forward. Every one of them was like, wow, we've got a real chance here, you know.
And that shows how, even though you feel that they could manage themselves, recruitment is the important thing.
Senior players, and you know, just looking at that clip, although some of them were young, they were senior players, really.
Let's talk about the playoffs now, shall we? I'm not sure about 11 wins in 14. You may be right. I've got here 8 wins from 9 and 7 clean sheets in a row as well. Yeah. So as a defensive unit, how confident were you going into those playoffs?
Very confident. Obviously, you know, we'd gone in. I was playing as a left back. I think Danny Mills on the right side again. Danny's England international. You know, or he turned out to be an international. And you had Eddie Owls, and Kerr's brought Eddie in. A real, you know, his partnership alongside Richard Rufus was. You know, you went into every game and thinking, well, and I tell you, I was talking to Kerr's about a different situation early on, but the one thing amongst those times that was never said to me or to Danny Mills, a lot of people you would say to their full-backs, you know, sit in, be solid, you know, make sure we're solid at the back. All Curbs ever did, and Les as well, was encouraged to get forward. You know, it suited my game well, because I wasn't the best defender, by the way. I didn't mind going forward, and I know Danny Mills the same, so we were always encouraged to do that, you know, so and our game was based, I can't even remember all those years back, of, yeah, we talked about the opposition because that was what you did, but it was never going into any game where thinking, well, damage limitation, let's make sure it was always encouraged to go forward, attack, because that's, you know, when you got a Clive Mendonca there, that you have to use him to the best ability.
So then a 1-0 win away at Ipswich in the semi-final first leg, and then another 1-0 win against them here to reach the final as well. What do you remember about the atmosphere at the Valley? Comes straight from Newts down, no?
Yeah, I just remember the fact that, again, it just seemed to me that there was, because probably of the run we'd been on, the expectation in the crowd was there. There didn't seem to be any nervousness within the crowd. There was a confidence within the crowd right away along that I think they'd been used to seeing us, certainly over the previous 2 or 3 months where we were on that run of form. I mean, with Newts, you know, the players we had, when we had possession to get at teams, I think we frightened teams to death at times.
We're in the final now then. We've gone 1-0 up through Clive Mendonca. It's 9 clean sheets in a row at this stage. Did you think the game was over, and how did we end up shipping 4 goals?
No, because I think finals are unique experiences anyway, and I think if I remember right, you know, they would equalise, who came from a corner anyway, Niall Quinn, so you know, you almost think, well, okay, big Niall Quinn gets in front, so he heads it in the near post, so we beat ourselves up a bit because we could, even though it's Niall Quinn, you can defend it a little bit better. But again, going on from there, I think it was three. I mean, against Sunderland in a final, 3 times in a row coming from behind. You know, just when they must have been thinking, well, we're there, we've got 1 foot in the Premier League, bang, we come back again. And that, I think, that played a major part in knocking the stuffing out of them, because I remember even going into the penalties and me personally saying to the players that, you know, and it wasn't any sort of nonsense on my part, so to speak. I genuinely thought that our name was there. It was written on that trophy of that day to win, because we'd come back so many times. And remember sort of almost convincing yourself probably, or looking at their squad, and for all the body language trying to look, I thought to myself, you know, 3 times they've been knocked back. You know, they must be thinking, God, we've been there 3 times, and I just felt we were in the ascendancy just with everything that was going on. It was just going to be our day.
I know you probably said this, you've been asked this a million times, but going into the penalties, what were you thinking, and how did you sort them out?
We practiced on the Friday. Funny enough, Les wanted the pitch at Sparrows Lane to be the same size as Wembley, and then he took up nearly 2 pitches, remember? And we practiced some penalties. We always had our first 5, as I've said often enough. We gave the referee the first 5 penalty takers. Eddie Wolstenholme, his name was, I think, the ref. And then me and Reedy had to leave the teams. We had to come away from the centre circle. And so after that, the players had to pick themselves. So I don't know how Bo ended up going whenever. But I've told you the Newts story where I think the referee has looked round and said, well, come on, who's next? And there was Richard Rufus, Stevie Jones, Eddie Youds and Newts. And Richard Rufus pushed Newts out. And that's how Newts ended up taking. As he, to be fair, out of everybody, as he was running up, that's the one I'm more confident about, Newts. Out of all the other penalty takers.
Let's talk about your penalty, though, because you were number 5, weren't you? So how much pressure did you feel on that?
I felt pressure, as I mentioned early on. It was strange because when I was actually walking up to take the penalty, I actually, excuse me, Charlton fans out there, but Charlton was secondary in my mind. I had my 2 young boys in the stand, and I thought, don't miss this, because if you miss this, on Monday they're going to get hammered in school. And even to this day, I've got a theory, you know, that I sort of stick to, and coaching and whatever, saying to players, I always look at goalkeepers in big matches. in big matches, whether it be cup finals or the Euros and whatever. And goalkeepers always, in those games, they almost have to move because they want to be the hero and they're not going to stand still. So my theory is, you're in big games, hit it hard, hit it well, hit it down the centre. And all right, I didn't actually, didn't actually go down the centre, I was aiming the centre, but it just went off to the left. But my focus was just hit it, drive it firm, make sure I hit the target, hit it straight. Because I almost think if you start picking out angles and the keeper guesses right, then you're in trouble.
I can only begin to imagine the pressure you must have felt going up to it. Look, we of course won it a few minutes later with Sasa Ilic saving for Mickey Gray. And we can just see here, though, I think, you behind Kins on the way to lifting the trophies. In terms of career achievements, you had a wonderful career, has to be said, but where does this rank for you?
Well, I had a long career. I didn't win as much as I would have liked to, or hoped I could have. I mean, I actually was on the bench when Tottenham won the UEFA Cup in '84, and in those sort of heady days, I'm 19 years old, or 20 years old, thinking, wow, this is easy. This is, cups and whatever. And that was the only time since I actually went to Wembley, if you like. But whatever you're there for, you go to Wembley, you want to win, and that's why I actually thought, again, the twilight end of my career, and Curbs, and thankful the Curbs bring me back into that setup and into that team. I was determined, if you like, and it sounds really selfish, this, but when we were walking up the steps, I was determined to get behind Mark Kinsella. So at least my kids could remember, Dad played football, rather than me just trying to tell them stories of it,
Yeah, my kids have no idea.
We've just been in a boardroom and there's a picture of Kins holding the trophy up from a different angle, and Bo's boy's in it. Yeah. It's the first time he's seen it, so we'll have to try and get him that.
Definitely. And just before we move on as well, what was it like having someone like Bo in the team? How big an impact did he make? Well, on and off the pitch.
I've mentioned loads of times about the senior players. Firstly, when we was at Upton Park, and then when we came back here. But Brighty came in at the same time, didn't he?
Yeah.
But we had men in the team, in the squad, and if they got told off, they took it. And if they got praised and whatever, there was no real aggravation. It was great to manage, coach, and a good atmosphere. There was always a good atmosphere at the training grounds.
I remember Curbs had a situation, first, or the only manager I've known at that time, I think a few people do it now, where he used to come in at half-time, and him and Les and Keith Peacock would go off into his room. And I think he told me afterwards, at the time, they would listen to what was going on in the dressing room, but they'd almost give the players that, because they had senior players there, that couple of minutes to... And he said something to me, just listen to gauge what you guys were saying about the first half, and it was interesting to know that. We didn't know at the time. We'd come in sometimes, we'd tear a strip off people or patting each other on the back, and sometimes he'd come in and say, don't pat yourself on the back too much, by the way, because you're only halfway there. But it was interesting.
I've got a little bit of a different view. They used to calm me down. Because I used to say, have I seen this right? Because I used to sit upstairs, didn't I, the first half. Have I seen this right? And they go, well, not really. I think you're being a bit harsh. And I went, no, but I've seen it start somewhere else. It wasn't Bo's fault. It was him in front. It was Robbo.
It was never my fault. It was never my fault.
It was Robbo's fault. And every time I walked into the Robbo was like...
Listen, we could talk and talk and talk. We're already about 6 minutes over, so we're just asking the ref to put the game back a little bit. But listen, really pleased you could join us today, Bo. Fantastic memories watching that as well. OK, club news now. And we'll start with transfer activity. The club have completed the signing of pacey winger Corey Blackett-Taylor on a short-term deal. As mentioned earlier, he's on the bench this afternoon. Blackett-Taylor came through the academy ranks at Aston Villa and has been training with Nigel Adkins' squad for the last couple of weeks. Charltontv spoke to him after he put pen to paper on his contract. Here's a snippet of what he had to say.
Everything's got done, and I just can't wait to get started now and then start playing football and doing well for the team.
You've been training with the team for a few weeks now. How have you found it so far?
Yeah, I felt good. Straight away, I just felt comfortable. It's like a relaxed environment, and the training's been good, the quality's been good, and everyone's been warming and welcoming to me. So I've enjoyed it. The week or so I've been here, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, welcome to the club, Corey. Tickets for each of our next 3 home matches against Crewe, Crawley Town in the Papa John's Trophy, and Cheltenham are now on sale. Adult tickets for the Crewe and Cheltenham game start at £18, with adult tickets for the Crawley game priced at just a tenner. Sheffield Wednesday programmes are now back in stock. Look at Alan Curbishley, looking rather pale there, Kurt, I have to say. If you haven't got yours
How
already...
about the perm?
Yeah.
Where'd they get that from?
If you haven't got yours yet, you can get one by going online or by visiting the Valley Superstore here at the Valley. You don't want to miss out, so please be quick. Although Curbs has got about 50 or so at home, he carries them around wherever he goes. Live streaming now, and international supporters can purchase a live stream match pass for next Saturday's league game against Crewe Alexandra. Due to EFL broadcast regulations, the club are only permitted to live stream Saturday matches outside of the UK and Ireland, with the UK being classed as England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Guernsey, Jersey and the Isle of Man. To confirm, if you are in the UK or Ireland, you can only watch midweek games live on Charltontv this season. That is due to EFL broadcast regulations. Nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. And the next game that fans in the UK and Ireland can watch live on Charltontv is our Papa John's Trophy Group O match against Crawley Town on Tuesday, August the 31st. Live stream passes are priced at £10 and can be purchased by visiting cafc.co.uk. Charltontv will be providing match-only coverage for that one. OK, let's take a look back at Tuesday's game now. Guys, I know you didn't see it. We started off exceptionally well, scored, then conceded within 3 minutes. Looked as if we were really kind of stunned by their equaliser. Came back in the first half, but just didn't step it up in the second at all, so it was disappointing. If you were a manager of a team who had started a game so well and done like that, what would you say to the players after the game?
Well, I think Nigel said that they've not took advantage. When they've dominated games, they've not took advantage of that. And perhaps the first 20 minutes played well, whatever. But then, you know, when they're not having the best of times, they've not managed to regroup and see it out. I mean, I particularly think this is not a bad move. I know that it's been criticised, but it's a great run from the striker in between our two centre-backs. But they got back straight in the game, didn't they?
They did.
Changed it completely.
Mark, with your manager's hat on, what messages would you have tried to get across in training since Tuesday?
Well, it's interesting. I think he's brought Ben Watson back into the team today, and it may be like you say that. And I heard Nigel talk about it, that he'd be looking for his team, you know, maybe sometimes take that extra pass. You know, just to sort of, and I know he's been fantastic at that through his career. He did it at Nottingham Forest very well over the last few years. But that older head maybe in that central midfield position to just steady things down, take the extra pass, and that's the time when you're in front, when you really need to dominate the possession side of the game as well. I'm not sure if Charlton did that so well at times in this game. No.
At the other end of the pitch, Curbs, Jayden Stockley has started the season well. I mean, it seems very easy, as Bo just says there, just to knock the ball up to him when things are a little bit under pressure. It's important to have that composure to still play.
Well, I think we saw that against Sheffield Wednesday, didn't we? The ball was going up to him and he was having a real battle with the centre-backs. But we weren't picking too much up, not getting enough players closer to him. I would imagine today, with the two wide men and Ben Watson holding, that they will be able to get extra man in the box every time they look as if they're going to cross it. But when we're dominating, as Bo just said there, perhaps it's an extra couple of passes just to move your centre-backs up near the centre circle, and you're actually dominating the game and you're in the opposition's half and it's difficult for them to get out. That's when you should you need to take full advantage of it.
OK, well, speaking of Jayden, I spoke to him a little bit earlier today, pitch side.
Jayden, I think it's fair to say it's not been the easiest of starts. What's the mood like in the dressing room right now?
I think the mood in the change room at the moment is disappointment. There's an eagerness there to show everyone what we're about and to replicate the form shown at the end of last season. Definite disappointment, you know, anger at the fact that, you know, we've not hit our stride yet. But also there's an inner confidence because we see things on the training ground, you know, that other people probably don't get to see, that we expect so much more of each other, and I think that's going to come out in abundance in the next few games.
It was a great start on Tuesday, really pressed high with intensity. Great goal for you, we'll come on to that in a second. Yeah. What needs to be done to make a more complete performance for you?
It's you know, it's energy, it's key moments in games at the moment, albeit when we conceded the goal straight after we scored, disappointing. That's experience. That's when you score a goal, next 5 minutes, be really tough, go again, and you've got to show the character playing for such a big club that you can go again. So it's about little responses in games. We lost to Oxford, lost to MK through goals that we wouldn't have conceded at the back end of last season. So it's that responsibility from everyone as a team, not just the back four, but us all to be resolute and to hold on to our lead and protect it with our lives.
How personally, or how how much are you pleased with your own personal performance? Man of the match against Sheffield Wednesday, penalty against Oxford, scored against MK. I personally think you've been our best player so far this season.
Personally, yeah, it's been great, but I've been given the amazing honour of captaining this side, and I do not want to be captain of a side that doesn't perform. I want to be captain of a side that's flying near the top of the league. Personally, I'm happy with my form, but I need to bring stuff out of others. I now have different attributes to try and bring confidence to different players, and everyone reacts differently. That's what I found. So whether it's a quiet word, whether it's shouting words of encouragement, every player is different. So I know, because I see every day how much it means to the boys. So we're desperate to come out here, put a performance on, and get this unbelievable crowd on our side.
And have you done that more than perhaps any time in your career because of the captain's armband then? Do you feel there's extra responsibility for you?
I feel like with my character it's something that was going to come at a certain point, whether you find the right fit for it, but I knew on loan straight away. I knew in those first appearances there's just something, it just fitted. It just felt right. Just the whole balance of it all. This club just felt so right for me. That's why I was so determined to come back here. But like I said, I've come back here to be successful, and I want to be remembered for being successful here.
Wigan today, you're up against your former keeper Ben Amos.
Yep.
Any text been flying around about you're going to put one past him, or he's going to make sure he keeps a clean sheet against you?
No, none of that actually. I actually played with the manager as well of Wigan, so there's a few familiar faces. It's that can all happen, but as soon as you get on the game, it's like you never played with each other. It's a determination to go and get one better on him, and then after the game maybe crack a joke that you stuck one past him, this and that. Now's not the time for it. Now's the time for business, and hopefully the job is ours to go out there and do.
Yeah, for 90 minutes, your enemies. Final one for me. The fans were superb here a couple of weeks ago against Sheffield Wednesday. How important will they be today? Yeah,
it was great. Going out, the warm-up, couldn't hear each other doing the keep ball, and that is what I've missed so much. And it's what everyone was telling me when I was on loan here, that it would be like. So desperate to score in front of the home fans, desperate to do well, get the 3 points, and really push on from there and get the momentum.
Keep up the good form. All the best.
Mate. Thank you.
Speaks well off the pitch, playing well on the pitch. He's our captain as well. And Curbs, we saw a lot of Jayden in the second half of last season. One, how important is that we signed him on a permanent deal this summer? And two, looking at his stats, he wins almost 11 headers per game, which is the third highest in the division so far. He's going to prove vital, actually, in both areas, isn't he?
Absolutely, defensively as well. But I don't think we can forget the hold-up play. He holds it up ever so well and brings people into the game. And that's why we've got to get someone around him, and either another striker or a midfield player that's prepared to go there. And I think we've got that in Albie Morgan today. Go and join him. If it looks like the ball's going to go in the box or anywhere near him, invariably you're going to get an opportunity to get the ball off of him.
OK, now this is the last time we're going to do this season. We're going to be extremely nice to Curbs.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, here, the unveiling of the Alan Curbishley stand. How did you feel? Give us some words to describe it. Pride, emotional?
Yeah, I did say I'll get emotional. Don't really do that. But, when you see your name up there, and as we walked in today, I looked at it again thinking, blimey, it's still up there. They might have took it down. But no, when we were sitting in the stand, it's as I said, I did ask around how many managers have had their names put on stands. There's not a lot, so, I've got to be really proud of that.
Yeah. What did your family say about it?
Oh, they loved it. They loved it, and it's something hopefully going to be there for a long while. So that when my grandkids grow up, they might be able to come and have a look.
Let's have a look at some pictures of you. Oh, don't have to be me, but yeah, just tell us.
Well, funny enough, I didn't know if anyone could hear it, but I did thank a lot of people, but I thank Lenny Lawrence for bringing me to the club.
Yeah.
I thank Lenny Lawrence for bringing me back to the club, and I thank Lenny Lawrence for leaving the club because he gave me a chance to manage
to thank Lenny for.
And was Lenny there on the day?
No, I don't think Lenny was there, but
You thank Gritty as well. Gritty played a big part.
Gritty, obviously. Well, I think them first couple of seasons at Upton Park, I still say it for I don't want to sound boring, but I think when we went to Upton Park for like 18 months. And you was there, as you know, I think the performances on the pitch infused everyone off it, because we could have easily just disappeared. We was getting 4,000 or 5,000 fans there, and I think because we did so well, it infused people to start investing in the club.
And Mark, tell us what he was like. How important was he to Charlton?
Oh, massive, isn't he? Genuinely, and he's sitting next to me, Mo Gaffer here, but massive in terms of just I think it's not just the talent of a coach and a manager, but the personality, if you like. You know, Curbs has always had a steady influence on. You know, I don't think forgive me for saying so. I don't think he gets overly excited about things, and he doesn't get overly depressed about things. And that's, I think, to be at a club that long, and certainly when he was involved with the teams over the years, that steadiness was a club that seemed to be going from, you know, peaks and troughs, to have that steady influence running right through it was huge.
And for Kish to make the effort to come from Bulgaria,
Kish,
just for that.
Fantastic.
Means a lot.
Yeah, no, and as I say, I think that seeing some of the old boys, and it was a fantastic afternoon. And I did contact the club and said that I'd like to come back and thank the people behind the scenes for putting it on. And so perhaps I'll get the opportunity today.
Hold on a minute, I'm just hearing, it's in your contract that I have to be nice to you every single week.
Well,
and we have to say you are the legend that is Alex Curbishley, as we are in your stand.
I've got a few saved up for you anyway. The longer we go on.
Should we move swiftly on? Let's have a look at today's team, shall we? Because although we got 4-3-3, it could well be that Albie will be just pushed up a little bit further into a 4-2-3-1. What do you think?
Yeah, and the two midfield boys, Dobson and Watson, I think will be holding. And two fullback. I mean, Gutner does so well. Someone you'd know, Bo. He does so well. He's played in about 5 different positions since he's been at the club.
The two Welsh fullbacks, and Chris actually he's very much, obviously he's got a huge amount of caps, but underrated in terms of his influence, verbal influence on the dressing room as well. And again, all right, playing left side, but he does like to gallop forward as well. And I'm not sure what his left foot like. It's not as good as yours, Scott, for delivering from the box. You might have to check back a few times, but again, they'll be wanting to put some football in.
Innes was brought off, wasn't he? What's that, to stop him getting sent off?
Yeah, no. He's been struggling. He's not been fit, hasn't he, in pre-season? He's hardly played in minutes. It's incredible how. Yeah, he did get booked. He did get booked, and he could have got sent off as well. But look, that looks a strong 11 and bench, to be fair as well. Let's have a look at Wigan, shall we? Because they have spent a bit of money. I think it's fair to say. Charlie Wyke. I'm not going to put a kiss of death on it. I'm just going to say that it hasn't quite happened for him at the moment. Yeah. What are you expecting from Wigan today?
I think they'll be well organised. They'll be solid. Obviously, Will Keane as well in there. Probably getting up and alongside Charlie Wyke. They've got quality in there. I don't think, again, they'd have been wanting probably a better start than they've had. But I think the main thing is they will play on the fact that Charlton have had a quiet start and wanting to get the crowd a little bit, maybe turn a little bit on their back as well. But it'll be a difficult game today.
And Ben Amos?
Yes, indeed.
He should get a good round of applause from the Charlton fans, shouldn't he?
Was asking him and Jayden if him and the two of them have actually been texting each other. He said, no, we've kept quiet, so we'll see what happens afterwards. Prediction, Kurtz?
2-1 to Charlton.
1-0 Charlton.
I'll go 2-0 Charlton. Let's get to our commentary team, shall we, of Terry Smith and Steve Brown.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Mark. Welcome, obviously, to the Valley. As Charlton, second home game of the season, yet to